1 Samuel chapter 9, verse 18. So listen kind of close here. And Saul drew near to Samuel in the gate and said, Tell me, I pray thee, where the seer's house is. And Samuel answered Saul and said, I am the seer. Go up before me unto the high place, for ye shall eat with me today. He gonna teach him. And tomorrow I will let thee go, and I will tell thee all that is in thine heart. Y'all see that? Then verse 23, and Samuel said unto the cook, Bring the portion that I gave thee, of which I said unto thee, Set it by thee. And the cook took up the shoulder and that which was upon it, and set it before Saul. And Samuel said, Behold, that which is left, set it before thee, and eat, for unto this time hath it been kept for thee, since I said, I have invited the people. So Saul did eat with Samuel that day. That's a similitude for Samuel teaching Saul. That's what that means. All right? We just read Romans 3, 1 and 2, and it told you about the milk and the meat. He gave Saul some meat. What y'all gonna find out later on is they had the doctrine, but certain people had the spiritual understanding of the commandments. Other people, they only had the carnal part, but the king had to have the spiritual part. That's what the prophets taught the kings until them wicked kings came. Y'all see that? So right after that happened, in Samuel 10, verse 10, it's going to tell you, after he sat with Samuel, something happened. And when they came thither to the hill, behold, a company of prophets met him, and the Spirit of God came upon him, and he prophesied among them. And it came to pass, when all that knew him before time saw that, behold, he prophesied among the prophets, then the people said one to another, What is this that is come unto the son of Kish? Is Saul also among the prophets? So after Samuel taught him, he was able to prophesy. When he ate with Samuel, it means he went and he learned from Samuel. That's what eating means. That's why I kept going back to Leviticus 11, so y'all get that. To eat means to learn. But there was a problem with Saul. Let's go to verse 20. And when Samuel had caused all the tribes of Israel to come near, the tribe of Benjamin was taken. When he caused the tribe of Benjamin to come near by their families, the family of Matri was taken, and Saul the son of Kish was taken. And when they sought him, he could not be found. Therefore they inquired of the Lord, if the man should yet come thither. And the Lord answered, Behold, he hath hid himself among the stuff. And they ran and fetched him thence. When he stood among the people, he was higher than any of the people, from his shoulder and upward. Saul was a coward. Okay? Saul ain't had no confidence. So now you see, here come Goliath up in here talking, and he making these statements, and Saul is scared because he ain't confident in his doctrine. Y'all see that? All right, let's go back to chapter 17. Y'all got the background on Saul. That's why Saul's standing up there scared. Verse 12. Now David was the son of that Ephrathite, of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse. Jesse was a bad man, I'm here to tell you. And he had 8 sons, and the man went among men for an old man in the days of Saul. And the 3 eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. So they were following Saul's doctrine, not Jesse's doctrine. Remember, I told y'all before that he sent David to Saul with that doctrine. So David is his son, right? So David got Jesse's doctrine, but his other sons have Saul's doctrine because they in Saul's army. All right? Let me read that again. And the 3 eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. And the names of his 3 sons that went to the battle were Eliab, the firstborn, the next unto him, Abinadab, and the third, Shammah. And David was the youngest, and the 3 eldest followed Saul. But David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. David was a preacher in the house of his father Jesse. All right? So now, he went back to the church to teach those people. Now, verse 17. And Jesse said unto David his son, Take now for thy brethren an ephah of this parched corn, and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp to thy brethren, and carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their 1,000, and look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge. Now, what he's telling you, he know his sons is following Saul's doctrine, and he know Saul's doctrine is not strong. So he's sending David with meat, with understanding of that doctrine. Y'all see that? He's sending spiritually, all right? He's sending his doctrine because he don't fear Goliath. David was fearless, but he know his sons ain't going to be able to stand if they following Saul. They following Saul's doctrine. Saul was a weak king. Y'all see that? He was afraid of the people. He was a coward, right? And he was even sending understanding to the captains. That's how little regard they had for Saul's doctrine. So the Philistines was getting ready to take them out, right? So now, let's drop down to verse 23. This is because David goes out there and he starts teaching these people. That's what it means. He gave them that meat and all that other stuff. That means the parched corn and all that's meat. That's understanding. David was out there preaching to them people to give the people the understanding what they need. That's what's happening now. Y'all understand that? No, we not David. But we got that doctrine that's going to defeat the giants. You understand? That's all it's saying. He telling you the future. This is an allegory about what's going to happen. All right? So verse 23. As he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion of the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistine, and spake according to the same words. And David heard them. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him and were so afraid. So now you got a lot of people who are afraid of these Goliaths around here right now. One in particular. And then the men of Israel said, Have ye seen this man that is come up, surely to defy Israel? Is he come up? Notice it's saying Israel. It's talking about the righteous. I don't care what your race is. if you follow these commandments, this spiritual understanding, you gonna be Israel if you kill that old man. So it's telling you he coming up against Israel. That carnal doctrine is gonna come up against the spiritual doctrine. And we're gonna see what's gonna happen. Surely to defy Israel is he come up, and it shall be that the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel. Now that's real spiritual right there. Now y'all think it's talking about Saul's actual daughter. No. It's telling you you're going to get the right doctrine. The doctrine that the Most High going to give you, and you're going to get the kingdom. That's what it, let me read it again. And the men of Israel said, have ye seen this man that is come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up. And it shall be that the man who killeth him, convert him. The king will enrich. Who's the king? Christ is the king. The king will enrich him with great riches. That's the kingdom. And will give him his daughter. That's the doctrine. And make his father's house free in Israel. Y'all see that? Your whole house gonna get the kingdom. Everybody who up under you in the Most High's house. Don't y'all see that? Okay. So, we're going to keep going. We're going to drop down to verse 32. And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. David's fearless. David ain't worried about no giant. Just like we ain't worried about them giants. Thy servant will go and fight with the Philistine. Oh, it's coming. Because they're going to have to defend that doctrine. We continue to pummel that doctrine. Every time we say, read Mark 3, verse 7 through 12, it's telling you Christ taught the Gentiles to include white folks. When you find out that the Italian band is actually talking about Italians, because I showed you 5 different ways, 5 different precepts that said the same thing. That's pummeling that doctrine. They're going to have to defend it after a while, or else them people going to start walking out of there. And David said, let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. And Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he is a man of war from his youth. Now, it's funny how the Bible writes certain things. When it's talking about youth, you know, there are certain people, primarily the elders of Israel, we haven't been aware of what you would call the truth, but for a certain amount of years. But you got people walking around here, I got over 30 years. I take my 30-something chapters up against anybody. David was a youth too. And Goliath was a man of war from his youth, meaning he started early. Y'all see that? Because it's a lot of y'all young boys. Y'all giving the elders some support, and we shouting out to you. We really appreciate the support that y'all giving us, right? But it's going to be the youth that take down them giants. That's what that's talking about. Yeah, them people going to be living off of their renown because they've been telling the same lie for a long time. And then the doctrine going to come and displace them. It's being set up right now. Y'all see that? So they gonna make fun of us saying that we ain't been in the game long enough. Y'all too new to the game. Y'all need to get a little bit more understanding. Da 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 da. But we seem to be able to hold our own pretty good. So now, verse 34. And David said unto Saul, Thy servant kept his father's sheep. This is very spiritual. Put that spiritual thinking cap on. And David said unto Saul, Thy servant kept his father's sheep. It's telling you that he is a teacher. He's a shepherd. He's a preacher. Right? And there came a lion. We just told y'all who the lions are. That's the beast of the field. They tear flesh of the sheep. They strangle the sheep. Y'all see that? And a bear, another beast of the field. Y'all see that? And took a lamb out of the flock. So what he telling you is the time came where one of these Pharisees came and beguiled one of his sheep to leave the flock. That's what he's telling you. Look at this thing spiritual now. Right? Verse 35. And I went out after him. He went to go get. Remember Christ say that a man to leave all of his flock to go get that one sheep? That's what David did. Y'all see that? And I went out after him and smote him and delivered it out of his mouth. His mouth is his doctrine. Y'all see that? And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard. Beard is a doctrine. Beard is hair. Let's go to Genesis so you can get what hair is. Genesis chapter 25, verse 25. And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment. We just read Job 29:14. A garment is a doctrine. And they called his name Esau. So when David said, I caught him by his beard, he's telling you, he caught that beast of the field, that Pharisee, by his doctrine, and smote him and slew him. Y'all see that? Verse 36. David was bad, I'm telling you. But it ain't talking about him fighting an actual bear or a lion. Y'all don't... Listen, the thing is, y'all don't know how to read it. What man gonna grab a lion and the lion gonna... Man, the lion will tear you to pieces. There ain't a man that can grab no lion by no beard. Come on, man. Y'all believing in fairy tales. Y'all believing in Jewish fables and all of that. Because y'all don't know what it's saying. And they sitting there telling you, yeah, David killed a bear. David killed a lion. It ain't saying that. Because y'all carnal. Look spiritually at what that thing's saying. It's saying he went back and he got his congregant back. Y'all see that? Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear. And this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them. Y'all see that? Seeing he has defied the armies of the living God. That's right. And that's what's getting ready to happen. They can't keep quiet for so long. Verse 37. And David said, moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion, the beast of the field, because we used to be in the paw of the beast of the field. Y'all see that? But we was delivered by the Lord. David said, moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the paw of the lion and out of the paw of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. He talking about what's getting ready to happen. Notice David got a lot of confidence. And Saul said unto David, go, and the Lord be with thee. Right? So, verse 38. So, what it's about to tell you is Saul tries to cover David with his doctrine, but David wasn't familiar with the doctrine and felt more comfortable with his staff, his law, his doctrine, and smooth stones. Stones is law. Of the brook. Stones of the brook. Water. Understanding. Y'all see that? Let's just read it. And Saul armed David with his armor, his garment, like he had his other brothers, and put an helmet of brass on his head. Also he armed him with a coat of mail, covering, and David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. He wasn't comfortable with that doctrine. He hadn't proved Saul's doctrine, but he know the doctrine he had. He had that doctrine from Jesse. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off. I'm not following that doctrine you got, man. That thing don't even make no sense. And he took his staff, law. That's what Aaron was throwing down, that law, bro. In his hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook. The brook is the water. The stone is the law or a man. In this instance, it's the law. Table of stone written with the hand of God. That's the law. Y'all got that? All right. And put them in the shepherd's bag, which he had, even a scrip. And his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. So David was confident with his doctrine. He got it from the brook, from the water. All right? Verse 42. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, and ruddy, and of a fair countenance. Y'all see that? Again, he's a youth. Basically, Goliath is insulted because of the youth of David, and his fair skin means without blemish. The same thing happened to Christ when he brought forth his doctrine, and it is happening now as we bring forth Christ's doctrine to you. One of these camps are going to tell you we can't match their 30 plus years, and they taught us the truth. Notice that our doctrine is quite different from their doctrine, and they don't understand what we saying. Y'all see that? But just like Goliath in this story was insulted, those Goliaths modern day, they insulted. Same thing. Bible telling you something. Get ready, because a lot of y'all gonna have to go to war. Y'all see that? We're gonna drop down to verse 44. And the Philistine said to David, come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air and the beasts of the field. The fowls of the air and the beasts of the field. We just told you who they are. That's the Pharisees. The fowls of the air and the beasts of the field. That's who them people are. Y'all see that? Verse 45. Then said David to the Philistine, Thou comest to me with a sword and a spear, and with a shield, but I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. This day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hand, and I will smite thee, and take thine head from thee, and I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistine this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know there is a God in Israel. Y'all see that? So let's see, he said he came in the name of the Lord. Revelation, chapter 19, verse 13. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is the Word of God. He came to him with the Word. John 1:1. So we can see who the Word is. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Verse 14. And the Word was made flesh, and he dwelt among us. And we beheld his glory, the glory as the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. That's Christ. So let's drop down to verse 49. Chapter 17, verse 49. We're almost done. And David put his hand in his bag, and took thence a stone. We said the stone is the law. And slang it, and smote the Philistine in his forehead. That's his brain. Y'all got that? So he was listening to that word, and that word smote him in his brain. It confused him, discomforted him. And that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. Y'all see that? So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. But there was no sword in David's hand. Right? That means something. And we about to get it here in a second. Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine and took his sword. Sword means words. We read it before. Revelation 2:16, Isaiah 49:2. Sword is words. All right? And drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. What it's telling you is, he used his own words against them. That's what it's telling. David used that Philistine's own word, his own soul, against him. And he converted him. Y'all see that? That's how you take down a giant. Because their words ain't strong enough. But they've been talking for a while. So you already know that doctrine. And you know where that doctrine is a lie. You can prove that lie. We just read it before we started. Mark 3. Say Christ was teaching and healing Edomites. And everything else that was walking in that multitude. they say them people can't get the kingdom. Or they going to be slaves and they going to get striped up and all this other kind of stuff. But Jesus was healing them. Interesting. Yes. He slew that dragon. The Most High say it's going to happen again. He slew that giant. The Most High say it's going to happen again. That's what the Bible says. We'll see. Because I know they're probably going to be hiding here real quick. But let's go so you can find out about old Jesse. Because remember, earlier we read when Saul had that evil spirit or whatever was on him, right? He went and he told Jesse to send David, right? So when you start reading this last little bit, you're going to get thrown off a little bit. But I thought he knew. Verse 54. And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem and put his armor in his tent. Y'all know tent is a house, right? So what David did, he added the armor that Goliath had to his arsenal. You see what I'm saying? So what he did, he learned from that fight that he had with Goliath. That's what that's saying. Y'all get that? And when Saul saw David go forth against the Philistine, he said unto Abner, the captain of the host, Abner, whose son is this youth? Then we called to Jesse. Jesse sent all of the stuff with him. So it must mean something else. Y'all see that? When you start reading the Bible and it don't make sense, they say, well, wait a minute. He went to Jesse and told him, send him David. So he know who Jesse is. That's a signal to you. It means something else. Excuse me. Verse 56. And the king said, inquire thou whose son the stripling is. All right. And as David returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul, with the head of the Philistine in his hand. Now, if Goliath is supposed to be 3 stories tall, how David carrying his head? Y'all starting to see it don't mean what y'all think it mean. It ain't talking about no man 3 stories high. Hell, if he 3 stories high, hell, his head would be bigger than an automobile. How would David be able to carry a head that big? Y'all see that? Come on, man, stop believing these fables. And Saul said to him, whose son art thou, thou young man? And David answered, I am the son of thy servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite. What it's telling you is, what he asking the boy, the young man, who doctrine did you use? That's what that means. They had never seen any doctrine that could disarm somebody like that. You understand? They gonna want to know where this doctrine come from. And they gonna want to learn this doctrine. That's why we giving it freely. We giving this doctrine because the doctrine is gonna slay all those giants. But it's telling you that David, your forefather, was a teacher. All your forefathers, the righteous ones, were teachers. They were all in that line. They were teachers. They had a special understanding of the commandments, different than everybody else. Y'all got that?